Characteristics: Utopia, institution, individualism, inner life, American Renaissance, life. In the USA, during the Transcendentalism did not have a big change from the Romantic period. The growth and birth of industrialization is the everyday encounter in this country, so you can refer to this period for life between 1840 to 1860. Literary attributes: Man is not only God, but divine and part of God's essence. Fights for causes such as a woman, suffrage and abolition of slavery. Goals of human in transcending the sense and experience divinity. Use intentional to transcend and unify with God. Values simplifying institution, self-realization and closer to nature. Explore a deep mythical connection between man, nature and soul. Transcendentalism. Belief that knowledge could be arrived at not just through the sense, but through intuition and contemplation of the internal spirit. Transcendentalism represents a new way of understanding thoughts and knowledge. The roots of philosophy go back to Germany. In transcendental philosophy, the grid of ordinary life and society are buried between the self and the spirit. Thus nature represents a way to free the mind on its typical destruction. Ralph Waldo Emerson may have been the father of the Transcendental movement, was somewhat recluse to attach in his name to progressive political initiative. He reportedly turned down invitation to speak at an abolition meeting. Transcendentalism was an intellectual field that triggered the fire of American literature for years to come. Writers: Margaret Folger, Emily Dixon, Franklin Benjamin Sanborn, Samuel Gray Ward, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emily Dixon is a well-known poet in the world today. Her poems were greatly affected by the way she lived her life. Possibly religion had the bigger impact on her breathing. Despite being pressured throughout of school to become a strong follower of Calvinism, she never truly committed herself to religion. This separation from religion caused her to be weaker and fruitful when breathed through emotion. Throughout her younger years, Dixon was influenced by other writers, including Emerson, Thoreau, Dickens, and Ruskin. Most influence was Emerson. He too was a poet. His work opened up ideas to her that reached beyond the aspect of Calvinism. Dixon's writing style was also affected by the Civil War. During this time, Dixon was extremely produced in her breathing. It was not the war itself, but it was the whole atmosphere of the war that influenced her. Perhaps it was her odd fear of death that caused her to write many works during this period. Emily Dixon has a very unique style of writing that many people do not understand. Two characteristics of her writing that set her apart from other writers are the use of capitalization and the use of dashes. Throughout her poems, she used the dash to emphasize, to indicate a missing word of words, or to replace a comma or period. Also, capitalizes known for no reason. She left out helping verbs and connecting words. She dropped ending from verbs and nouns. It is not always clear what her pronoun refer to something, and pronouns refer to a word which does not appear in the poem. At the best, she achieved breathtaking effect by compressing language. General setting. The setting moves around a little because the speaker and the dead are going from a ride in a carriage. It starts when they pick up the speaker and then drive for a while through her town, past the schoolyard and field of grain, and eventually to her burial site. How this literary work fits the criteria for this period. This period is true to the time when Dix focused on two, her poetry dominant theme, literary and mortality. As you will see when we dig into the meaning of this poem, because it could not stop for that. Definitely explore both. Characters. Dixon made use of several literary devices in because I could not stop the death. These include, but are not limited, alliteration, allusion, personification, and enjambment. The first of these alliteration occur when words are used in succession, or at the least appear close together, and begin with the same sound, for example, labor and leisure. During Dixon's early years, she experienced the deaths of many people close to her, including that her cousin. It is easy to see why she feels familiar with that. Dixon also lived near a cemetery, so she watched many people, even lower one reading in her house to their final resting place. This is like an inspiration for the setting of the poem. Literary attributes. Personification is a poetic device that assigns human characteristics to something not human or abstract. For instance, naming your favorite plant or talking to light it can listen is an example of personification in action. The central meaning of the poem is one should not fear death, as it is not the horrific one thing of death is rather gentlemanly, prudent, and civilized. The main protagonist is the narrator. She is called accepting what comes without putting up resistance. Conflict. Person versus supernatural. The conflict between mortality and immortality, and the speaker's gentle acceptance of death. In this story, told by a speaker memorizing the day that she died,